When the boost hits your guy on the companion side, that's a Fiore. Uh, it's probably not even how you pronounce his name. Fiore, Fiore de Liberi, Fiora. I have no idea. Vittorio is going to be so ashamed of me. Oh well, that's all I got. What's up, folks? Elio here with another deck. This time we are playing Fiore in Basira because I don't see anybody else doing that. We're playing Fiore because Fiore is awesome. He's like a super cheap Hydrocana. He dodges all the best removal, except for all the removal he doesn't dodge, which is a lot. But really, many commonly played things are not effective against him. Off you go, Duel of Grit. Just ignore the License Withdrawal staring at you in the corner. Physical training is just a bigger Baba Yaga, more stats put onto an eternal body, with a draw that also hits from reserve. And Baba Yaga's banned, so what are we even doing here? Skater continues to be a fantastic addition from Whispers of the Maze, and with Basira it stacks on 2 boosts onto Fiore, and it helps fill out curves very nicely. We need 1-drops in the deck, not just for curve filling, but because a 1-drop into Fiore makes a 3/3/3 Fiore with Basira that we can start growing in subsequent turns. All these dudes make for great leads into Fiore while also being good characters in Basira themselves. Some more cards, we got Helping Hand, gives us more boost triggers for Fiore, but the lose fleeting effect doesn't really do anything with Fiore, but with these other cards, Bravos Tracer and Pendacar, it can mean tons of power or tons of disruption depending on what the situation calls for. Haven Sarangar and Aeoli fill out our characters, adding some draw and boost respectively. Finally, before our uniques, we have removal protection, and some spicy chocolate. With Fiore, people often end up ignoring lanes similar to how they do with Hydrocana. With energy bars, that's not an option. We will win both lanes. For our uniques, we have a sick red that draws and disrupts, a Haven Warrior that draws, and a really bad Fiore that I don't know why I'm playing. But if we have Spindlehaven, it does come out with 3 boosts with Basira, so that's cool, I guess. And yeah, that's the deck. Let's jump into some games. Okay, game 1 up against Afanas. I definitely want to keep the Spindle. There's a lot of removal out of Afanas, and off you go, and maybe wake me up inside Evanescence. And with the Spindle out, I would love to do like a Fiore Fire Rabbit on, not the next day, but the following, and just hope to kind of draw into some plays next turn. There's not a ton of removal usually out of Afanas that can hit Fiore. Evanescence doesn't, Off You Go doesn't. Sometimes they run License Renewal or Withdrawal or whatever that card is called, and that doesn't hit it since it's 4 mana. And they usually don't have like multiple banishing gates, or if they do, they don't always get kept around. So a Fiore can absolutely stick around versus Afanas for a very long time, and that's what I am hoping to capitalize on. Don't need 2 Fiore here, can just send one of those back. And this actually gives me some great plays here where I can Fire Rabbit and Skater this turn. They do Banishing Gate my Spindle, so my cheat things might not be safe anymore, but with the Banishing Gate gone, my Fiore probably is safe. And since they use this entire turn doing that, I can get both Fire Rabbit and Skater into play to double advance this turn and block them. And then next turn I can open up with the Fire Rabbit from reserve and have Fiore eat him to become a 3/3/3 with the Basira trigger. Definitely get rid of a Saboteur here. And I think that he's probably going to anchor on the right, and I may not win this lane as a result, but if we both compete over this, like, I want to be buffing the Fiore big next turn, and I'd rather win it next turn where I'm planning on committing power. But they do go left instead, which is fine. We'll just trade lanes for a while, and I'll be happy to go 1-1 for the rest of the game if that's possible with Fiore. I think the one thing I am still afraid of is Beauty Sleep, and I'm very afraid of this very busted unique that is going to be returning 2 things each time it's played. There's a physical training and a blade dancer, which itself could threaten like the other left lane. So I'll put the saboteur back. We'll see if I get like sabotaged here. I get rhyme frosted, which is fine because I can physical training. We'll see if they just rhyme frost the physical training again, which I'm especially fine with now with this other physical training. I'd be happy to even just cast it in overflow. But they decide not to rhyme frost and keep that around, and I'll just play physical training again to draw more cards. Hopefully win this lane unless they have a sleep this turn. But we're pretty set in the right lane for the foreseeable future. Crazy the amount of value that we're getting out of Fiore this turn, or this game. Like 9 power last turn, 8 power this turn. That's 17 power. Turn before that, it's just a huge amount of advantage there. I put back the Aeoli there, but I maybe shouldn't, especially since like there's limited, like we know there's things in their deck that can handle like 1 to 3 drop, but the 5 drops may be one of the ways that we can kind of guarantee pushes or guarantee safe characters. And so it may have been smarter to keep that around as a potential character that is immune to the removal. But instead, we do decide to go with this Blade Dancer and threaten something that's going to be a recurring threat, but a little bit more vulnerable to the removal. Another fantastic unique from them, but luckily we do have this Helping Hand to remove the fleeting, so while they do return cards to their hand with this awesome caregiver effect, they're going to have to actually do something more permanent, or actually remove the Blade Dancer to get rid of it. And I'll just keep a Helping Hand here to not only make this big to try to win this lane, but also to make it big next turn when we want to replay it. Though, of course, we'll probably get Rhyme Frosted next turn. But a double advance is huge here. If we can get it, which looks like we do. We'll get rid of this unique Fiore. And this candy bar can potentially be what really seals the game for us. Like, if they don't have sleep, then candy bar is going to just crush it for us. I do open with the Blade Dancer, though. They didn't open up with the Sabotage or Rhyme Frost, which makes me more afraid of sleep. I don't want to, like, spend all my mana going all in on Fiore if what their game plan is just to sleep the Fiore and come back that way. But I do still want to have the opportunity here to do an energy bars win, but I want to be able to do that while being a little bit resilient to sleep, a little bit resilient to removal. So I'll play most of my characters in the left lane, and I won't put all my boost on the Fiore. I'll try to make sure that I have enough boost by the end of this that even if Fiore gets slept, I can hopefully still win the left lane with what's remaining. So I'll do 1 boost, which puts us at 9. And we're at 887, so we're keeping somewhat even here. And then I can Skater, boosting the Rabbit, and also just the Rabbit twice, I guess. I guess it's probably just better to do the Blade Dancer if I'm afraid the Blade Dancer getting killed. No, this is better against like license renewal, with energy bars coming in. This will now, even if we get slept there, we'll be winning the left lane by having 10 green and them only having 9 green with the stuff there. So sleep we have plenty. Removal on Blade Dancer we also have plenty. I think the best thing they can really do here is like sleep one drop. But what they have is license withdrawal, which they use on the energy bars. But that's not going to be enough. And GG. Okay, we are up against Teija. I do like duel against Teija. It can get a ton of value versus their anchored things. I would love to be doing some Fiore-ing. And I don't want the rare Fiore. I don't want AoE Feoli. And this like is just guaranteed losing a lane this turn. At least Tracer should be able to advance unless he has like Daughter of Yggdrasil. So I'll keep duel, Fiore, Tracer. They play Drac. They do play it into the Tracer lane, which seems like a mistake to me, but it could potentially block us better. I think they should definitely play into the other lane, but we'll see if we end up one lane apart. This is a lot less useful now. I'll get rid of the Helping Hand, and I can do Sarengar and hopefully duel a 2-drop unless they play another 3-drop. Spindle Harvesters is something that I'd be happy to duel, but a unique Moona Caregiver, I may be even happier. This doesn't get anchored itself, but it's quite big for 2 mana. It can anchor something else, and it's going to advance this turn. So I'm going to get rid of the Moona Caregiver, which will let me block in advance if they don't have another 1-drop. Rabbit Fiore is perfect, so I'll do that rather than keeping the Blade Dancer, especially since I want to use the Basira trigger on Fiore. And I can Rabbit right. Maybe I'm supposed to do this left so that if they they're going to play their first thing here. Now because this is only going to put 1 green power here, so it's going to be tougher for them to get to 3 green to stop us. So this feels right. But they do sleep our Fiore, and so they will be double advancing, and we don't really get any advantage out of this Fiore this turn, but we will lose the boost, so that is unfortunate. Beauty Sleep, one of the common things that is played in Teija that is going to have a good effect on our Fiore. There's not necessarily a lot of other removal, like Requiem is seen more play these days, which isn't going to hit this from hand. 2, 3, 5... I have such cheap things and I don't have much going on. I would eventually like to Pendikar on this Beauty Sleep if he doesn't do it sooner rather than later, but not this turn. I think I'm actually not going to mana this turn, which I get the mana for me in the Mana Reaping. With that, I'll open up a Sarengar on the right, which will advance in the grass. It's not blocking him, but it puts him in a spot. And I'd love to get counters on the Pendikar to get rid of this Beauty Sleep, so I'll go right. And now, with no more power put on the lane, actually maybe we're getting rid of this Cuddly Corgi. With no more power put in this lane, we can either go left with the Fire Rabbit, advance left, and advance right. But if we do that, we don't block them, and they're currently ahead, and they are running like sleeps and stuff, so I think I'd rather slow the game down, especially with us drawing cards and sabotaging. So I'm going to go right with the Fire Rabbit and instead choose to block them rather than take the advance. Letting them advance also lets them get another Floral Tent, since we'd sabotage this, but then they'd advance here and the tent would go to the right. I'd rather this tent be a little bit awkward and maybe cause them to overflow on a later turn. Got an Eat Me Energy Bars, which with the Beauty Sleep is particularly awkward, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And I think I'm happy this turn to Fiore Physical Training, even knowing that they're probably going to Beauty Sleep me. It sets me up so well for the future that it seems worth doing. Oof. Sap Duende. Okay. So we're losing 2 advances again. We're going to have to get rid of this Fiore. Now with him advancing twice, I don't think I can do like Fiore's physical training anymore. So when I overflow here, I will get rid of Fiore, and I'll keep the Saboteur instead, since we have plenty of mana for what we have available to us, and it, with the physical training, can also maybe try to claw things back. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I'll get rid of one of the skaters. Okay. I'll stall, play a cheap thing. The Pendacar on the left can threaten advancing with the Basira. In fact, like, I'll do that, see if they have a counter, and the skater in hand can maybe surprise them. Though I am going to withhold the Basira so that I know how to play my power. Cool. So skater will be enough to push this over. I'm actually not going to put power onto the Tiny Djinn so that I can recast it. Because I'm just low on cards, and I'd rather have more plays available to me than getting that extra mana immediately. I'll get rid of the common TJ. This is going to draw me a card, and that's just such a bad play at this point in the game. And I can open up with TJ on the right, one of my cheap things, not as cheap as Blade Dancer, but it's also a known commodity, so it reveals less of what my game plan is going to look like to him. But then from there, I'd rather withhold this boost and first draw the Haven Warrior and see what my own options are. I'm going to be doing Blade Dancer. I'd rather play the Blade Dancer first so that I can boost it with the Skater, whichever Skater I play. That's enough for them to advance on water, so I do have to keep playing, and I'll do that with the Skater from reserve, double boosting the Blade Dancer. So we trade 1-1 here, but we're in a much better spot here because we have so much characters and power, and all they have going to reserve is this Sly Naturalist. So we lost a lot of Fiores this game, but we're in such a strong position going into what's probably the final turn. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. In case they have Little Mouse, I'm just gonna not play anything, have as many options available to me. Minotaur is like the only thing that I can't Duel of Grit. But we have plenty of power to win this game. And yeah, that's GG. Okay, up against Sigismar. Like seeing the Spindle here. There's a lot of removal in Siggy these days, especially they run 3 license renewal, which also hits the Spindle, but at least we can make them play it. So I'll keep the Spindle. I'll definitely keep a TJ. And outside of that, it's really, I think, between Fire Rabbit and Duel. I don't really want the Aeoli this early, and nothing in this hand is like a great helping hand target. I think it's actually better to keep the Fire Rabbit since this puts power on board, but in order for it to boost, like I'm also like going down on cards I can play while not putting them down, and like Tiny Djinn's gonna be around, but he's kind of small. Spindle isn't going to be adding power to the board. At least Duel of Grit gets rid of something that they play permanently. And in fact, like dueling a Legate or a Attorney can feel really good. So plus, like there's just busted uniques in Sigismar that I want to deal with. So I'll keep TJ, Duel of Grit, and Spindle. Gonna open up with the Spindle unless they had opened up with like a 1-drop unique that I could TJ Duel of Grit. I do want to get some actual decent bodies though. I'll get rid of the duel there just because I don't want to get rid of physical training. I don't want to get rid of TJ, and if I get rid of the Bravos Pendacar, then I'm like just so low on bodies. But I will TJ, and I'll plan on physical training it and just putting counters on it. That does like take away the ability to recast the TJ, but it makes it safe from Order Spies and stuff, and I am drawing cards with physical training plus the mana from Teija. I'm getting a lot of card advantage to make up for the fact that I don't get to cast this twice. And it is a ton of power that should be enough to advance there. They play a Sandman, which they could sleep this, in which case I'll win their next turn. But instead they just choose to sleep their own thing and buff it, which makes sense. Here. Alright, I have plenty of characters now. I might want to do some Pendikar stuff, like I may even like Pendikar, Physical Training, Fire Rabbit this turn or something like that. Or Pendikar Skater PT or Pendikar Skater. I think the Fire Rabbit's kind of redundant, and in order for it to be at full power here, I need to give it Fleeting, which I'm not like ready to do yet. So I get rid of it. They draw more cards. If I go Saboteur on right, and they try to contest, then I could Physical Training. If all that they use is Sandman, that's enough. I don't really want them to, like, I want them to play something that I can sabotage. So I'll open up with the Physical Training. That's enough for us to currently be advancing, but I actually like want them to play like an Ortis Trooper if they have it. So I'm not going to use the Basira yet. I'm going to try to tempt them into playing something, which Skater will still beat because of the trigger. And that lets me advance, plus get rid of one of their cheap 1-drops. I do want to be drawing with this eventually, so I'll get rid of a Blade Dancer. I'm not going to be buffing up 2 different Blade Dancers. And I'll open up with the Sabotager on the left. If they kill the Skater, I still have Helping Hand to buff this and maybe get rid of some of his options. Attorney is kind of, we can play the Sarangar on the right, which will both advance. And right now we're kind of threatening maybe a double here, but Tiny Jail gets rid of the Saboteur, and we can now, we can play Skater. We could choose not to like buff the Sarangar so that they don't draw, but that is, we just have to like accept the fate that Sigismar is going to have lots of cards, and they're going to be able to play everything they want every turn and try to take the advances while we can. And so, like, while I'm willing to do this sort of 1-for-1 trade or threaten it so that it makes their plays awkward, I'm not going to give up a free block here when it's given to me. Definitely want to keep the Sarangar, especially with this grass over here. We're at 7 mana, which lets us do 2 mana play, 1 mana play Aeoli. So I'll get rid of the Helping Hand as redundant with the Aeoli, especially since we have lots of mana now to actually like do big Aeoli plays. There is a Cracked Unique. I'll play Sarangar on the left, which will at least be enough to counter this for now. I probably won't fight over that, but we'll see. I can just open up with Blade Dancer first on the right and see what they do with their last plays. So they have 1 mana. If I go Aeoli right and double buff on the left, then I'd be at 5 on the right and 5 on the left. They would already be advancing on the left. Any 1-drop basically takes it so that they double advance on the right. I think that and plus if I do that, the Blade Dancer is going to be small in the future, which is awkward. So I'm actually going to go Aeoli on the right and just put all the counters onto the Blade Dancer and just trade lanes 1-1 here. The other thing is that if I go double on the Sarangar, it loses Fleeting, which means I don't draw the card and I overflow. It'd be a little bit different if I could just use the Basira counter on the Haven Sarangar to take the lane, or to threaten the lane, in which case like I would draw the card and not overflow. But this just made it more, made it make more sense to just push right. I don't want both Fiores. This one costs 1 more, but is 1 bigger, and doesn't require getting rid of a character to do. So I'm actually going to get rid of the normal Fiore. And I'll open up with the Blade Dancer on the right. Fine-ish. I'll Serengar on the left where it competes really well. This goes in the other expedition. Okay. And I'm going to be casting this Skater twice. It's easier for him to stack on the left, and I want counters on the Blade Dancer more because it retains them, so I'll at least put the first counter on the Blade Dancer, and because he could have another Order Spire or Jack Frost, I'll go ahead and use the Basira now in case he uses this to sabotage the remaining Skater. I don't want to lose that Basira counter and get like double punished for that kind of play. But now they're running out of plays here. I'll Skater on the left, that puts us at 5, and I'll put the counter on the Blade Dancer, which puts them in an awkward spot where like the easiest lane I thought was going to be this one, though they still do actually win the left one, and if they had pushed this one, then they don't draw the card with the Attorney. However, it's fine. We end up trading lanes 1-1 again. They had one of the better cards in this position. But that's not surprising. They have a ton of cards in hand. They're going to have good cards. I am probably going to cast the Fiore this turn, which means I'm going to get rid of this Aeoli. 5 mana, 7 mana. I would have loved some cheap things here, but I'm not going to be playing 2 Fiores here. Order Spy comes out, which really threatens to say that, hey, 1, this thing's gone forever, and 2, we need to play this Serengar now so it doesn't get Jack Frosted. But they've already had to spend 5 mana, which means with 4 mana, they're going to have to match a ton of power with what we're getting with just this Fiore and this Tracer here on the right. Yeah, there's no way, especially with this Spindle out. Cool. GG. Anyway, that's the video. Let me know if there's any factions or cards or characters that you'd like to see me play in the future. And yeah, I am Elio. Until next time.